Good evening and welcome to the Celebrity Creators Show once again. We'd like to thank each and every one of you for attending and viewing this live, and also for those of you that are watching this as a recording after the show. We have a wonderful show lined up for you, a ton of incredible information, so we are going to just jump right into it. But first, I'm going to introduce this wonderful woman to my left, your right. Her name is Kathy Stover, and she is the co-creator and co-host of this very fine show, and without whom this show would not exist. And that's the truth, because she is truly the glue that holds this show together. But beyond that, and the reason we are business partners, at least from my vantage point, is the incredible background that this woman possesses in the business industry, and also she's a very dear friend of mine, so it works out really well. She's an operations and sales manager, or has been, with 25 plus years experience, and this all with a Fortune 500 company. She is an author, a speaker, we've shared the stage together, very, very successful in the social media arena. And always like to mention that if you are in any need of getting your business exposed via the social media avenues, which, by the way, are extremely powerful at the moment, then be sure to contact Kathy. You can click on the Contact Us link after the show's over, and that ensuing email will get to her. So be sure to contact Kathy. She is very, very successful at it, as I already said. She's also a power seller on eBay and a top-rated seller on eBay. This woman knows how to sell. Not only sell, but market. You have to market in order to sell. That's where her great talents lie. She has many more, but those are her, just, the tip. Those are the best. She's also got a lot of experience in network marketing dating back to the mid-'80s, and as I also like to call her affectionately, the affiliate marketing queen, because she also has affiliate marketing experience and expertise dating back to the early 90s. And like I always say, she can sell almost anything to almost anyone on the internet. With that, I would like to introduce you to this wonderful person over here, my co-host, Kathy Stover. How are you doing tonight, Kathy?
Brian, thank you so much. You're just always overboard. I am doing absolutely awesome. Glad to be on another Tuesday evening with you and our special guest as well. And I can't tell which way is which, so I'm going to say, and I'm happy to be here tonight with Brian. That way I cover the whole space, But I want to introduce everybody who is on with us tonight who may not know. Also co-host, co-creator, co-founder of the Celebrity Creators, who has put together all of this awesome looking graphics and all the cool things that you see on here. Brian has been a software engineer, so that has a little bit to do with what you see for 24 plus years. Brian also co-owned a travel-based MLM for 6.5 years. He, as he mentioned, being an author with me, we're working on a book together, also a speaker, and we've got some really cool and exciting things coming up for the Celebrity Creators coming very, very soon that you will be experiencing. So I can't tell you all the really cool stuff that he does, but I'll be able to share some of that as time moves forward. But anyway, I just want to say, Brian, thank you so much for everything that you do, because that certainly makes a difference in what the folks get to enjoy each week in bringing our special guests. So without further ado on my part, I just want to say, enjoying spending another Tuesday evening with you, and turn it back to you so we can talk about the awesome guest we've got at hand tonight.
Thank you so much, Kathy. I'm gushing. I'm about as red as this graphics banner above and beneath us. Thanks so much for that. But we have a fantastic guest. He's a repeat guest. Very popular. Our last show with him, I believe, was the most popular show we have had to date. We have had 51 shows. This gentleman, we met in person and just really hit it off from the very get-go. He is the most genuine individual that Kathy and I have met in a very long time. There is nothing phony about this guy, and he knows what he's doing. Who are we talking about? Of course, it's John Limbacher, and the title of tonight's show is Local Search and How to Figure Out What Your Target Market is Searching For Right Now. This is a huge topic, so be sure to get out your pen and paper and jot down some notes. What we'd like to do, for those of you that did not tune in or have not seen John on our show before, is give you a brief background about this gentleman. He is founder and CEO of Limbo Vision Incorporated. Limbo Vision is responsible for over $100 million in increased online sales for its commercial clients through natural SEO techniques. SEO stands for search engine optimization. It's a definite science and also an art. In an effort to break away from the norm and share his internet marketer lifestyle, John has developed an online training program to teach webmasters and website owners all of his tricks in his new SEO Dominators Club, of which Kathy and I are members. John lives and works inside of a beautiful tropical estuary and has created and calls home in sunny Huntington Beach, California. He doesn't know the actual date he started his web career, but recalls it being in the mid-90s, prior to Yahoo, back in the days when having a top listing on Alta Vista was big news, for those of you that even remember who Alta Vista was. John's early days involved teaching others how to get top listings for their business in the major search engines of the day. John was invited to speak at many different events and venues, from computer user groups to Pepperdine University, but it was clear that they simply wanted SEO done for them. This altered John's cause and sent him down the path of offering commercial SEO services. It was then that he disappeared from the public eye and went underground, developing SEO techniques for his clients that are still followed by today's gurus. Lucky for us, he has once again surfaced from this underground and is willing to openly share his SEO traffic secrets with all of us. With that, well, you know what? That was enough. I think our show is done. We want to thank you all for watching. No, I'm kidding. That was a nice long intro. John Limbacher joins us tonight. John, how are you doing tonight, my friend?
Well, thank you for that introduction. I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
Excellent. Excellent.
All right.
We are so excited to have you on again. You know, anytime we use the word repeat when it's a guest, like the content that you brought the last time, we are just frothing at the mouth and ready.
Well, thank you. I'm just happy to be here.
Well, you know, one of the things that Brian had just mentioned was that you're an SEO guru. And I mean, that's just, I don't even know what you can add to that, because you are beyond phenomenal. But in addition to that, something that has surfaced and become a very hot topic of late is local search. And our topic for tonight is local search and how to figure out how what your target market is searching for online right now. And you have got some secrets and the key that some of us need to be taking a look at.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is kind of one of the hottest things going right now, is local search. And I can't believe more people haven't really figured it out. It's to me, it just kind of was one of those things that just looks obvious, but I guess not for everybody. That's why you guys need me, right? To figure this stuff out for you.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we kind of wanted to start with is, would you say, because of local search, you know, coming out all of a sudden, and it's been there, but nobody knows how to really utilize it to its full potential, would you say that the typical or traditional Yellow Pages, the local thrifty nickel, those kinds of advertising avenues are out and local search is the in thing?
You mean like that old book that used to be around?
Yes.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about there. It's funny, you know, that you asked that question, because not too long ago, one of my neighbors, he has a pool business. He came down and he said, hey, he goes, I know that you're into this internet stuff. And he said, I have a question for you. And I said, okay, shoot, what is it? And he said, I want to know if I should renew my Yellow Page ad. And I asked him the same thing. I mean, do you mean the book? You're advertising in the book still? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, what's it costing you? And he was paying about $300 a month to be in the book. And I said, well, what does that do for you? And he said, well, it used to make my phone ring. And I asked him, I said, well, when was the last time it rang? And he kind of looked and he said, well, it's about a year ago.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm like, well, you know what? We might want to consider changing that up a little bit and maybe trying something that might work a little bit better. So needless to say, he did not renew his Yellow Page ad. And, we're working to get him online at this point and get him up. So I think he's going to be a lot happier about the results.
It sounds like you're questioning
But
kind of
yeah,
led him to answering his own question there.
Exactly. But yeah, the book, I mean, the honest truth about the book was that it hasn't worked for a long time. And the people that used to use the book, they're in an age group where they're no longer a buying part of the community. They're not a consumer group anymore. It's just changed. It's shifted. And, everybody, they went online and now they're using their phones. And I mean, it's just evolving. Things are changing. And if you don't change with it, you get left behind like old technology. Nobody wants to turn into a dinosaur, but, if you don't know the way out, I guess that's just what's happening to a lot of these small businesses. They don't know where to go. They don't, the big thing is I hear this every day. They blame it on the bad economy. And I say, really? Do you really believe that? So that's not why your phone's not ringing, believe me.
So in other words, dressing up in the pickle suit with a sign jumping up and down on the corner isn't going to get it either, huh?
Well, that's still amusing.
Amusing.
But advertising in a book that people are not looking at anymore and that consumer group has disappeared, that's back to the whole buggy whip story. You can make the best damn buggy whip, but if there's no more buggies to whip, guess what?
I don't know. I still really like the book because, it has so many uses. Like you can use it as a booster for your seat and get a little higher. We had a guest actually on our show that used one for that very purpose. But that's really about all I've used it for in the last 5 years. Yeah, they keep arriving at that front doorstep. So, John, why is local search now become so important?
Yeah.
Well, the local search really, it's been important all along. It's just people are just now figuring it out. And it really comes down to the keyword research and finding out what your target market is looking for. And the thing, if you remember back when we did the last interview, we talked about targeting the right keywords. And, we used some examples of how people search. Well, when they're searching for something that you can buy locally, they're searching local search terms. So if somebody's looking to buy a pizza, they're not just going to put in pizza because they don't want to buy one on the other side of the country. They want one right down the street. So, they'll put in exactly what they're looking for. And they usually end it with the city. Now, some people will put the city first, but most people put the city last because they're really defining the search as they go, and then it's kind of an afterthought. Then they throw the city on the end. So that's typically how people are using the search for local, is they've got the keyword of exactly what they're looking for, and then they throw the city on the end of it when they want to find it in their neighborhood.
Okay.
So, and when you get down to that, if you think about searchers, there's a thing to searchers, and it's called commercial intent, commercial viability, whatever you want to call it. It's how serious they are. Are they ready to buy something when they're doing that search, or are they just looking? Are they looky-loos? And that's what you don't want. Whenever you do keywords that are kind of generic, that's usually what you get, is you get garbage traffic. You get a lot of it, but it's garbage and it doesn't convert. These local terms convert like crazy because these people know what they want, and they're actively looking for it in their neighborhoods. So it's like the best traffic on the planet. And it's not a lot. People have this misconception that if they get to the top of the search engine, they're going to get overrun by traffic. And that's really not the case in local. But what they're going to get is they're going to get the right traffic. So it's really a key factor, and it works really, really good.
Well, something that you had mentioned a few minutes ago, you were talking about the guy that was paying, would you say it was like $300 or $400 for the...
Yeah, $300 a month.
What's really surprising to me about that? That seems relatively inexpensive. And the reason that I say that is my husband sold a business 5 years ago down in the Bay Area. And at that time, he was running a quarter page yellow page ad, and he was paying $1,300 a month.
Wow.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. I asked this guy, I said, is that like a quarter page ad or whatever? And I was shocked to find out it was just a listing.
Wow.
It wasn't even an ad. It was a listing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because he was paying $1,300 a month. So I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with that being said, I mean, is local search less expensive, quite a bit less expensive than like $300 for just a little ad or a quarter page ad?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you talk about local search, there really isn't a cost to it other than you getting yourself to the top. So it's a good idea to invest in somebody that can do that for you, or invest in yourself to learn how to do it. But that's really the cost. I mean, you're not paying like pay per click where you're paying per visitor. There's not really costs associated with it. Most of these local directories are free. And the biggest one out there is Google Places. And again, it's free. All you have to do is just go there, sign up, and you're in. Now it's just a matter of how are you going to get your listing to the top and get it noticed.
So that's what you're paying people for. You're paying the experts to actually help you once that's transpired, because some folks won't actually do the sign up into Google Places. They'll just, enlist somebody's help and then pay them to do that, and that becomes part of the package. But the true key then is hiring the expert who knows how to move that free Google Places listing into something that's going to drive traffic for them.
Yeah, and there's a big misconception about the Google Places too, and the search engine results. Here a while back, not too long ago really, the Google Places merged with the organic listings.
Oh.
And I got so many calls, people were freaking out. Everybody that along the way that I had taught how to do SEO, they were literally freaking out. They're saying, oh my God, Google Places took over the top of the search engine. So what's that mean to SEO? We're all going to be on the second page. I said, hold on a minute now. I don't know that that's exactly what happened. And when I went in to look, I was pretty surprised to see what actually happened. They actually merged. And what really took place was the SEO'd sites didn't change. The organic listings didn't change. Mm-hmm. What changed was if you were already there, like let's say you had the #1 spot in the search engine and you had a Google Places, your #1 slot was still there. It was just enhanced. But I know a lot of my clients didn't have Google Places in place. So that's kind of an interesting thing, places in place. But anyway, they didn't have their Google Places deal, and all they had was basically me getting them on the search engines through natural SEO. Oh. And they stayed at the top. So they were above the Google Places listings, which told me that Google Places did not take over the top. They basically merged. And if you had Google Places, then your listing that was already there was an enhanced listing, which is really cool. You put a picture next to it, and it really draws a lot of attention. So it's kind of like running an ad, and you can highlight it, and you can do all these fancy things to draw attention to your ad. So there's a huge value in going and claiming your Google Places deal and getting that set up properly. Because then when you do your natural SEO and you get your website to the top, it's going to be highlighted and it's going to look really cool and it's going to stand out. But the Google Places did not take over the top of the search engines. That's a huge misconception. That didn't happen. They merged. So that was what went on.
So the key here is for someone to get their existing website or to create a website and then get great search placement. And what that means is if somebody goes to Google and searches for keywords that are pertinent to your business that John would help show you or do for you, then those would show up hopefully on page 1 of Google, if not page 2, but very, very high, so they wouldn't have to look very far to find you. But how would someone actually get their website included in these search results?
Well, in the search engine results, it goes back to natural SEO. And the game there now is really linking. You know, it used to be about content, but now it's really about authority and how many people will link to you. And it's the same deal with the Google Places, because now that's how you're driving your regular website up. And once that's up, then you've got it, you know, your places take over and away you go.
Interesting. Line 1.
Hey, let me turn this thing off here. Somebody's after me.
Yeah, they are.
I forgot to take the phones out of the room. I'm a pretty popular guy around here these days.
I would say so.
So are we just talking about Google and Google Places, or other types of directories that might be out there?
Actually, all of those directories, like there's Super Pages, there's Yelp, there's a whole ton of them. And I don't have the listing of all the directories, but it's real easy to do a Google search and find all the local directories out there. And what happens is it's very similar to what we talked about last time when we used video to get multiple spots on the search engines.
Right.
You can use all these local directories and you get these local directory listings, and then you go back and the same concept, you throw links at all those pages, and you can wind up dominating the whole top 10 of the search with your business. So you can literally knock everybody else right off the page. And that's really powerful.
You know,
that's where you really put the rubber to the road on this game.
You know, the thing that's interesting about some of those directories I've noticed, some actually have a charge to them. And some of them have it kind of set up that when you go in, it looks like you're going to have to pay right away. But if you maneuver past some of that stuff, it's actually, they have a free portion, most of them.
Yeah. You just, when you're filling them out, you just have to be kind of careful and make sure that you turn over all the rocks and get past some of that stuff.
Yeah, because some of them make it very tricky, so it gives you the indication that you're going to have to pay $49.95 a month or something for them, you know.
Yeah. When you come to those, you don't really need those. There's plenty of free ones out there. So if you get to one that's trying to get you to pay $49 a month, just kind of move on, go to the next one.
Interesting.
Well, we have this next question actually that we kind of bantered about to talk about was proposed on the chat by a friend of both Brian and I, Linda P. Jones. She is the CEO of the Global Institute of Wealth for Women. So she has a virtual type business. She doesn't have a brick and mortar. So in line with her question, do you have to be a brick and mortar business in order to utilize this type of local search advertising?
In most cases, when you're talking about the directories, you do need an address. So you have to register an address. And a lot of them, what happens is they're getting real fickle, because a lot of these internet marketers and stuff, they would go sign up in like 50 different cities and they didn't have an address there. So they kind of put a halt to that. So now what happens is if they have an address, usually a postcard will get sent to the address and they have to verify that they received it. So that's kind of how they cut out, the spam as far as that goes. So you really do need a physical address. It can be a PO box though, just somewhere where you can accept mail. But as far as the organic search results, you can play this game anywhere. And I have a lot of clients that they'll pay me to get them up for, maybe they'll pick 10 of their hot topic keywords, and then we'll add the cities onto the back side of those. So we're making really niche, real long tail specific keywords. And, they'll do 5 to 10 cities very routinely. So they don't have to be in those cities to take advantage of the local organic listings. And that we're doing a lot of that right now. So, but as far as the actual directories, most of the directories do require that you be in the city, but we can still dominate the search results anywhere with, even if they don't have a location, we can still do it there.
Well, and oftentimes if you're incorporated or an LLC, you'll have an address. It's just that as far as the directories go, wherever that address is, that's where the listing is going to show up.
That's correct. So, if you say you have a PO box in one city, but you really do your business out of another city and they're not real close, that's where that could be an issue. So, you can still take advantage of the local search in the organic search engines, and you can still beat that. And you can beat the Google Places from the ones that are actually right there in that city. And I've done that on almost every occasion. Very rarely does a Google Places site beat one of mine that I've organically SEO'd.
Yeah,
it's all that organic fertilizer you use.
I can see all
and
kinds of.
Do you guys get the difference between the organic and the Google Places and all that? The difference between all of that?
Will you explain it for maybe some folks that might not understand it? That would be great.
Okay, sure. When you pull up a search in Google, there's the map listings. That's what we're talking about with the Google Places. And now that what they've done is they've moved the map over to the right side where the advertisements used to be. Right. And it actually goes above the advertisements in most cases. Some browsers will display it differently, but for the most part, the map is over there. And then the map correlates to some of the top 10 in the listings there. So they might have like an A, B, C next to them, and then that correlates to the little pins on the map. But the other listings in there, those are normal organic search listings. Those are just websites that are supposedly the best. When they get run through the Google algorithm, that's how they decide who's going to be at the top. So that's kind of the difference. And then these other ones, basically they're directories like Yelp, for instance, and Super Pages. What these are authority sites. And kind of to compare this to the video thing, it would be like the YouTube of video sites. That's what these things are to local search directories. So the reason that a lot of those sites are up in the top 10 is because they carry so much authority. There's none of the little sites in the niche have enough juice to beat them. So that's why most of them, if they don't get listed in like the Yelp and the Super Pages and the Google Places and all that, they really can't play the game because those are the sites that are showing up there. But what we can do is we can take their site, put their site at the top, make it unbeatable, and then the other stuff goes below. So when that happens, now you've got their main home page right at the top of the search listings, and then it's enhanced with their Google Places, and then they've got their Yelp listing, their Super Pages listing, on down the line, and it basically can push their competitor right off the page. So that's kind of the rundown between organic and the local listings.
Oh, that's awesome.
Now, another question is... I didn't hear what you said there, Kathy.
I just said thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, definitely. It clears up the murky waters of SEO. Now, how does someone get their business included, say, in business results? Like, specific to businesses.
Well, it's really all the same. This is all really businesses. Okay. There really isn't. There's not too much personal stuff really in the web results unless you're doing some sort of a personalized search. But that's really what these things are. These are all business directories. So Yelp and Google Places, all that really is where you list your businesses. And I think maybe more along the lines of what your question might have been was, how do you get your business to the top? Is that
well, that's an obvious question. Yeah, let's cover that for sure.
Okay. what that is, and I'll just kind of give you the the lowdown on SEO and what's working today. I could spend all night telling you what's worked in the past, but how good is that going to be? Let's talk about what's working right now.
I like it.
Okay.
And it really is all about links. It's all about driving links, because the search engines, how they're basing who's going to be at the top is on popularity. So what they figure is, if no one out in the world links to your site, how important could it really be? And why should they care? Now, on the other hand, if you got all these people that are linking to you, they figure, well, that site must be popular, it must be authoritative, and it must be worth something, because all these people out in the world value it. They're linking to it. So since they care, now all of a sudden the search engine cares. Because the search engine, if you think about it, whether it's Google or Yahoo or Bing or whoever, what they're trying to do is they're trying to deliver a good user experience to their searchers. And the best thing that they can do is put the most relevant sites at the top, because they want to make sure that their searchers find what they're looking for and they find the best stuff. So that's really how they're kind of gauging that right now, is who links to you, how many people link to you. And the other thing about that is that's just kind of the broad strokes of the game. When you get down to the nitty gritty, it's not just about how many people link to you. It's about who links to you and how they link to you. And there's a lot of different ways that you can link to a site. You could link with a picture, you could link with text, you could link with click here, or you could link with what's really the key to the kingdom here is anchor text. And for those of you that are not familiar with that and don't know what that means, anchor text is the text that's underlined and clickable in a link. It's the clickable portion of the text. And if you make that clickable portion of the text your link, what you're doing is you're telling the search engine that when it follows that link, that anchor text is what they're voting on for that site.
Okay.
So that's how the search engines figure out what the site's supposed to be about, is when somebody links to you, they read the text of the anchor link and they figure, okay, well, that site must be about that. Let's go check it out. And then if everyone else links in that same way, then all of a sudden now they go, okay, well, this site has more people linking to it for this text.
Right.
So we're going to put that one at the top.
Interesting.
And in a nutshell, that it really is the keys to the kingdom as far as SEO goes. I mean, we can just blow all the rest of the stuff right out the window.
I have a question. That's it. I have a question to go on to that as far as the linking that you talked about. Now, the anchor text may be a tricky thing to do here, but does this also count, or does it also count if you were to have a massive following of folks, say, on Facebook or Twitter, posting a link to your website? Does that also help with this linking approach to getting higher rankings in search engines?
Yes, absolutely. Most people, though, on Facebook and Twitter and all that, they're followers, they're consumers, so they're not really educated on how to link to you. And if all of your links come from the same place, they don't carry as much value. You might get full value for the first link that comes from that source, but then they drop off, as you know. So getting 1,000 links off of Facebook really wouldn't count as 1,000 times the effort. They would count the first one full force, and then they're going to fall off from there. So really, I mean, it's a good thing to do, but where you really want to win the game is by getting all kinds of different sites to link to you. It's more about variety.
I see. Because it's all coming from the facebook.com domain. It looks like it's coming from one site versus, I see what you're saying. Makes total sense.
Yep, that is correct. So, and it's another way that they look at it is search engines don't like anybody that games the system. And when all your links come from one source, that's kind of a footprint to them saying, hey, this isn't right. Something's a little unnatural about this. We're not going to count this stuff.
That makes sense.
So and a lot of people think, well, will I get banned if I get too many links, or, if I get this guy linking to me or whatever. I've never seen a case where a site got banned from outside sources linking to them, even with a bunch of them. And if you think about it, if that were true, I could go out and get all my competitors banned overnight. So it really doesn't work that way.
Well, something that I've noticed, and when you go into some sites, you're talking about the anchor text link. When you go in there and it has a line under, and you click on it, a lot of times you get the impression that when you click on the word, it's going to take you to another page in their blog or to something that they've put together, when in fact it actually will take you to something totally different than what the link is. How and why are they doing that?
Well, a lot of times there's like spammers out there, and this kind of crosses all industries. So, and this was something that actually can get you in trouble when you're doing stuff where you're making links go to places where they shouldn't be. That's probably not a good idea. And again, it won't get a site banned because obviously you could go out and do that to your competitors. But what'll happen is they will start ignoring that stuff, and they may devalue the site. They may devalue the authority of all those links. So it's not something that you want to do. But that's done a lot. A lot of people, what they're doing to get links coming in is they're going into other people's websites, and like they'll go into a blog where you can write comments and you can post comments on the end of somebody's blog. And what they'll do is they'll find a blog and they'll post a comment in there, and they'll put one of their links over to their site. And really the post isn't anything about whatever the blog was about. It's just spam. So it's a cool way to get links, and it's easy and it's free. But if you're going to do that, there's enough blogs on your subject matter. You might as well go put those comments on the blogs that make sense to it. So don't just go out and go crazy. There's some people that'll buy automated software, and it'll take their comment and it'll just post it on a million different sites. So those sites, most of them don't have anything to do with what the topic is about. So that could be what you're seeing out there. There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, I come across it every so often. It didn't quite make sense. So I wasn't sure what the advantage was there. I guess that my mind was not working deviously when I was looking at this stuff.
Yeah, it's probably just somebody trying to game the system.
Well, let me ask you this. What type of business does local search work best for, or does it matter?
No, actually, it really does. It works best for businesses that actually supply local service. If you're shipping stuff out, like let's say you're selling, some product online that I can ship anywhere in the country, that's not the most ideal thing for a local SEO package, because people are going to be searching from all over and your customers are really worldwide. Where local search comes in is if you're a business owner and you supply products or business or services to a specific geographical area, like doctors. Prime example is doctors. Anybody that supplies local services like that, like chiropractors, dentists, their customers are local. They want a dentist right down the street. They don't want to travel, 2 counties away to go to the dentist or the doctor or the chiropractor. They're looking for convenience. They're looking for local providers. So if you have a business that provides local service or localized services, this is ideal for you, and it's a must. Anything that has to do with food, food delivery, restaurants, any place where locals are going to walk into your establishment, this is ideal. Another thing that's really good is businesses that provide services to tourists for local attractions. That's a great one, because people all over the country, they're searching for that, and they're doing it city specific. They might look for a bus tour in Hollywood. They don't want one, in Irvine, they want to look for a bus tour in Hollywood. They want to go see the stars' houses.
Right.
So that's a local search term. So those are really the ideal situations. If you're a national company and you're doing, national business, this stuff probably isn't going to be the best for you because you'd have to do too much of it. You might as well go and focus your efforts on your main terms and, drive the big numbers and, do it up. So this isn't necessarily such a big opportunity for them as it is for the local providers, or even stuff like tires for your car. Obviously we don't want to drive across country to buy tires. We want them right down the street.
Especially if you need them bad.
I mean, you might, I don't know. It might be, reason for a road trip, but
drive your Maypops, to Texas to get a new set put on, huh?
Yeah, it's not very likely. It's possible.
Yeah, before we move on too much further, I wanted to make quick mention of the fact that you can all see John Limbacher's mug above us, the one that doesn't move. Be sure to click right on his nose, not right now, but later after the show, and that will take you to his Facebook page where you can connect with him and get to know him. Very friendly individual, as you can probably surmise from this interview we're doing right now. In addition to that, and probably more importantly, definitely click on the SEO Dominators Club banner beneath us. As I mentioned before, Kathy and I are members of that club. You would not believe the amount of value and content that John provides. What he's doing tonight is a tiny, tiny fraction of what he provides to his members on an ongoing basis, and they do some fantastic things together. We were just talking about before the show that he has a cruise where he invites his members to come along and hobnob with folks like John and mastermind and have a great time to boot. So what better way to have a working vacation than go on a cruise with a guy that knows his stuff, who can shoot your business through the roof when it comes to getting exposure on the internet. So I just wanted to throw that out there real quick. Make sure that folks definitely get contact with you, John, because we see the value in what you do. You're like a diamond in the rough. You're so genuine. You're different than most of the people that Kathy and I have run into in all the good ways, and highly, highly recommend everyone watching this, either live or recorded, to later click on that link, especially the SEO Dominators Club. If you have a website presence or a brick and mortar business and you don't have a website, get a website and then get hooked up with John, because as you're hearing right now, the old way is, well, the old way. It's no longer viable. You don't want this big, thick book with your name in it paying $300+ a month just to have the name scribbled inside that someone uses to sit on. It's as simple as that. But anyway, let's move right along, shall we? Now, one thing we've noticed is that a lot of these listings give a place or the ability for customers to write reviews. Now, how do small business owners handle these online reviews? Especially, what if they receive a bad review? How do they handle that?
Well, that's actually pretty common these days, and there's a whole industry being born of that whole thing, and it's called reputation management. And, that's a whole different conversation in itself. But the short of it is anybody can place a review. And, that kind of really opens up a whole can of worms as far as that goes. Yes. So what you need to do is you just need to bury that stuff. And as a business owner, what you would want to do is you would want to go out and you would want to promote people to give you good reviews. And for those of you that don't want to promote getting good reviews from your customers, then just go ahead and pay somebody to give you a good review.
Just get rid of it, huh?
Exactly. Just bury that stuff. And, there's outsourcers. You can go on to a lot of these different websites where you can hire people. And there's a site out there called Fiverr. And this is kind of interesting. You might want to write this down. It's fiverr.com. And there's people for $5, they will do almost anything. So basically for $5, you could buy good reviews all day long. So that's a perfect way to, to bury that stuff.
Now,
And the more good reviews, they have like a scoring system. It's like a 4-star or a 5-star.
Right.
If you get enough people to give you good reviews, then even a bad one is not going to pull your rating down that much.
Gotcha.
It's it'll just kind of get lost in the mix.
Now, for our viewers, when you say bury that review, what you mean by that is you get enough good reviews, and that listing of the bad review keeps going down on the page to the point where they no longer can see it. Is that what you mean by burying their review?
Yep, that's
Okay.
correct.
Just want to make sure for
you
those watching.
you can yeah, absolutely. You can imagine if nobody put a review up there and then all of a sudden some guy came by and gave you a bad review and that's all you could see, that looks pretty bad.
Yeah.
But if all of a sudden, you've got 50 good reviews and there's one bad one in there, people might just discount that or discard it even. So, and especially if it's pushed off the page altogether, then, that's really what I'm talking about by burying it. If there's only one, it's going to stand out pretty strong and pretty loud. So we don't want that.
Yeah, it doesn't take much sometimes, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's happening a lot in the search engines as well, especially for people that are popular. Anybody that starts, their rise, all of a sudden, I mean, not everybody's going to like you. I don't care how good you are or whatever, or how much value you provide. There's always going to be somebody out there that gets a burr under their tail, and they'll go out and just kind of spread that word. And that can be really damaging. When somebody Googles your name and you see this complaint up there, there's ways to get rid of that though. And, that's one of the things that we teach in the SEO Dominator Club is really how to dominate for your search terms and how to dominate for your business. And when you're dominating and you're taking up all those slots, it's almost impossible for somebody to come in and do that and affect you. You're progressively taking control of that space. It's when you don't that stuff is allowed. That stuff can creep in and really bite you. So I say, before it happens, make sure it can't. Preventative maintenance.
That's certainly a good tip right there. Now I apologize. It looks like Dave asked about, he said, what about Bing, Yahoo, MSN, etc.? And I'm not sure in reference to what. I apologize, Dave. But maybe that he was referencing utilizing those as far as search.
I could be. I mean, this really is across all platforms. This isn't just for Google. Bing and Yahoo, they all have the same opportunity in those. There's some of the other search engines I haven't looked at in a long time, but I'm sure that they're the same. And especially when you're talking about just organic search results, it all kind of works the same way. So it's basically optimizing for your local terms. And it's so funny that no businesses do that. It wasn't a natural thing, I guess, for them to think that way.
Well,
So
particularly if they were paying somebody to do a quarter-page ad, and just assumed that since they were the experts, that they were going to put in there whatever, needed to be put in there. I mean, actually, it was just that you were on page 87 under a certain category, right? So,
Yep.
They probably had not really given, or even now are not giving it a thought in those terms. So with that being said, as far as categories, there's a lot of categories out there. So for a business, can their chances improve provided they pick the right category? And how do they go about doing that? How would they know?
Well, that stuff really is more for when you're inside those local directories.
Mm-hmm.
And myself, I don't really focus too much on that because most of the time when people get inside those local directories, they're so terrible that they want to get out and they go back to the search engine. So that's why it's so important really to get your main site at the top. You want to take up all the other spaces with all those directory listings, but it's vitally important that they have access to your real website, because when they get into those local directories, they are, for the most part, they're pure garbage. They hide your address. They don't want you to, to get through to the actual website. So it's really, really important that you get your absolute domain to the top, and then let all that other stuff, let it push your competitors out of the way. But that's what you're using it for. But as far as like, trying to optimize for directories with inside those, I don't really think that it's really a viable place to spend your time. I'd rather see you spend your time getting the search results where they need to be, make sure your site's on top, and then just get your directory listing below that to take up a space that your competitor can't take.
My goodness, this is information overload in a fantastic way. This is, to me, this is shining hope to all brick and mortar businesses out there. In the past, they've been restricted in what ways they can market and be effective at it. As you've just pointed out, John, that the big book, folks are still paying money. Obviously, if that book is still being distributed, a lot of businesses are throwing money away by advertising in that. And I think one of the reasons they're not that knowledgeable about what's going on here is because they are brick and mortar businesses who rely on foot traffic and physical, folks to walk in their door more than a cyber type sale on the internet, this can also change that for them. I would imagine that they could, increase online sales or add online sales to their business model, so that customers who are uncomfortable with buying something from a business, say in Texas and you're in California, they can say, well, I can buy online from this business right around the street, and if I have an issue, I can walk it in there and say, I want you to look at this. So this is really great information, not just for brick and mortars, but for those that may be looking to tap into this market, and you have something along those lines, which we'll get into in just a second. So we can gain, I'm guessing, a highly targeted audience utilizing this whole genre called local search. Is that correct?
Yeah, that really is the beauty of this, is taking those local businesses, because it's really about, you talked about that foot traffic. That foot traffic comes from somewhere. They have to find where they're going to go, and they used to go to the Yellow Page book to find that. Or they might go into newspapers, local newspapers, and look for advertisements, what businesses are advertising. But that stuff, even the local newspapers, that stuff is going away. What people are doing is they're pulling out their PDAs, they're pulling out their phones, they're running searches, and they're searching in these major search engines. So if you're not there, if your business is not there, that is like the equivalent of being in business in 1970 and not having a phone. That's what we're talking about here. You're not playing the game. And a lot of people ask me, they say, well, isn't this expensive, or what does it cost? And I say, does it really matter? Does it really matter how much it costs? What I look at is, what is it costing you to not be there?
Yeah. Right.
If you pull up those search results and you see your competitors there and you're not there, ask yourself, what's that costing you? Those are your ideal clients, and they're on there and they're looking for you, and you're not there. So it's not about how much it costs. It's about what's it costing you to not play the game.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yes.
We've got somebody asking, besides directories, what's a good way to get anchor texts from other websites?
Oh, well, one way is the blogs. There's a ton of blogs out there. And what you can do, you can search for blogs, and there's certain search strings that you can put into search engines, and you can come up with, huge lists of these blogs where you can go post comments on, and then you can put your anchor text links in those comments. Another really good way is article marketing. If you write a really good article and you provide value on your content, you can actually put your links down in the bottom of that article where the author box is. A completely legitimate way to put a link in there back to your website. Those articles, there's hundreds of article directories, and the whole idea is for people to use your article, and they have to post your resource box at the bottom of your article. So your article could literally wind up on hundreds of sites out there if it's good. The other way is actually press releases. You know, good old-fashioned press release about your business with anchor text links in it. You can go to PR Web, and for, I believe, about $89, they will syndicate that article, or that press release rather, out to over 1,000 websites. That puts your link on 1,000 sites for $89. So, you know, when you talk about this linking game, most of your competitors aren't doing that. You know, and if they were doing links, how long is it going to take them to catch you if you get 1,000 right out of the gate?
Yeah, true.
They're going to be working hard because they probably don't know how to do that.
Exactly. Well, you know, kind of at the beginning of the show, we were talking about experts, you being an SEO expert, and the fact that all of the sudden we're ending up with a big crop of local search experts, and you wanted to help dispel some of that tonight, and I certainly feel like you've done that. But you do have a program within the SEO Dominator that is very, very exciting. But would you say that done correctly, this is a very viable business from the perspective of somebody going into business to provide a service for local search? And on the other hand, people that need to have that kind of assistance, you also provide that as well. So can you kind of enlighten us on that a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. And this is probably one of the best businesses of this year. I'm gonna throw that right out there. This is absolutely huge. This is it. In 2011, this is going to be the make it or break it for these little businesses. It's truly to the point where if they don't do this, they're going to really be hurting. I mean, they're probably already hurting and they're blaming the economy. It's not the economy. They're letting this opportunity slip by and they don't even know it. Most of them totally have the blinders on. So in seeing this, what I did inside of our SEO Dominators Club, I actually created training to teach people how to go out and actually do this business and start a business to help these local businesses because they really need it. Mm. And there's hardly anybody that's really providing it. And if they are, you know, maybe it might not be the best service. So not only do we teach you how to do it, how to run the business, but if you don't want to do the doing it part, we actually created just recently a reseller program, and we had our first kickoff call actually last night. And we had, I think we had about 50 resellers right out of the gate.
Wow.
These are active people that I've trained myself to go out. And they decided, these 50 people decided it wasn't even worth them doing the work. They want me to do the work for them. So we've created a whole team to actually do this stuff. So you could create a business around this and outsource it, and we can actually do it for you. So you're just going out, getting the clients, setting up this recurring income stream, and then outsourcing it, having us do it. You know, and whether we do it or you do it or you outsource it to somebody else, it is probably the most phenomenal business that's going to take place this year.
Awesome.
It's awesome.
Awesome. That's exciting. We're excited about it. Well, I'm going to tell you, we have got, want to run this real quick, and we were actually talking about this earlier, but we have Susie Manning with Sizzle, Sizzl, on with us.
Hey,
and she is asking you, John Limbacher, about your cruise. You know what the thing is about the cruise and programs and that kind of thing. Are you going to have something on your site that's people can find when they go to SEO Dominator? Or
yeah, we are actually working on right now putting the dates together, and it looks like it's going to be around October, November. We're going to do the Mexican cruise that goes down to Cabo San Lucas. Hopefully it will leave out of Los Angeles or Long Beach, somewhere in that area. And it'll probably be a 5-night cruise. And at least 2 days will be with me on stage. I don't have the curriculum yet that what we're going to be teaching, but it'll basically be me unplugged for 2 days, and you know that's a lot of access to me. So,
right on.
You know, and I'm really good about whatever they want. I will steer the training toward whatever's going to help the crowd, you know, the best. So,
and we can attest
it's going
to
to be
that.
a lot of fun, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And, you know, like it was said earlier, there's just nothing like a nice vacation wrapped around a business thing, so you can write it all off.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I've got to tell you, and I say this every week, our hour just absolutely flies by, and it has done so again. There is so much more. I know I can see Brian's mind's just like, and he's just cranking, ready to ask you some more questions. But the cool thing about that is, John, we get to have you back again. And we're really excited about the possibilities of that happening. But I just want to tell you, thank you so much for coming on with us again and sharing such a valuable hot topic right now. It's just been phenomenal. And I too, I've got my brains just cranking here because there's so many things that I would like to add to it as well. But our hour has come to an end. And I'm just going to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming and spending your valuable time with Brian and I and our viewers. And I'm going to turn it back over to you, Brian.
Thank you, Kathy. And John, thank you so much. As usual, over-deliver. I mean, this is a free show when watched live, and I don't know if folks realize the value they are getting. You don't hear this kind of information anywhere else, last show included. He gave some tips and tricks on how to optimize your website using video techniques with video, YouTube, etc. And there were many in there that neither Kathy nor I have heard, and we think of ourselves as pretty daggone smart. But John dispelled that myth that we are pretty doggone smart, and he told us that, you know, there are better ways to do it. But all kidding aside, John is the real deal. Like he was talking about, can you afford not to venture into something like this if you're a brick and mortar that needs marketing and advertising? Well, the same thing holds true for any entrepreneur watching this show tonight. With respect to the SEO Dominators Club, be sure to click on that and take it very, very seriously, and I highly, highly recommend this. I'm sure you do, Kathy, as well. Get involved, join his membership club, and we'll be there with you, listening in to his live calls. They're very informative, phenomenal. I'm rambling like crazy just because, I didn't want this to end. I truly didn't. The time flew like always. John, thank you so much. If you have any last words you'd like to give our audience, would like to give you that opportunity right now. But thank you once again so much for coming on our show.
Oh, well, I just want to say, I'm just happy to do it. It's always a pleasure to, to share this information with people that need it. So thank you for the opportunity.
All right.
Absolutely. Until next time.
Go ahead.
I just said, until next time.
All right. With that, we will see you all again next week. Be sure to tune in next week, same time. Register above if you want to get an automated reminder of our show. But we'll see you next week with another fantastic show of the Celebrity Creators. We'll see y'all then. Good night now.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.